Welcome back to the Q equation. I want you to stop what you're doing right now and actually listen to me. All right. I need you to think about something, and what I need you to do basically is think about the last time you were right there, right on the edge of something good. Maybe it was a business opportunity, a relationship that could have actually been real, a financial decision that would have changed everything. A moment where you could have stepped up and said, I'm doing this. And you didn't, right? And you told yourself a story about why. The timing wasn't right. I wasn't ready. Something just felt off. It probably wouldn't have worked anyway. This is what a lot of people do, right? You tell yourself this. What if it wasn't a decision at all, though? What if something inside your body made that choice for you before your conscious mind even got a vote in, right? Because that's exactly what's happening. And today, I'm going to go deep into the thing that nobody talks about, honestly. Not your mindset, not your goals, not your vision or your vision board, but we're going to talk about your nervous system, the actual biological hardware that has been quietly running your entire life and sabotaging your future on a loop you didn't even know was playing. All right. So let's talk about it. We're going to get into this. So let's talk about what your nervous system actually does. And I got to break down what we're talking about when we say the nervous system, because most people hear it and they think it's just about being nervous or anxious. That's the surface level, right? That's all surface. I'm going to dig into this a little bit deeper. Your autonomic nervous system, right? The part that runs without you consciously controlling it, has one single primal job, one job only, right? And it's been doing this since the first humans ever walked the earth. And that job is to keep you alive, period. It's to keep you alive, not happy, not successful, not fulfilled, but alive. It doesn't care about your dreams. It doesn't care about your goals. It doesn't care about that business you're trying to build or that relationship you're trying to fix or that version of yourself that you're trying to become. It cares about one thing and one thing only, right? Is this situation safe or is it a threat? Think about that. That's all it processes. Your nervous system only processes, is this safe or is this a threat? Is it a risk or is it okay? Will it hurt me or will it be okay at least, right? So you see the contrast there. There was Dr. Stephen Porges, right? One of the leading neuroscientists in the world. Through his polyvagal theory, he's shown that your autonomic nervous system interprets cues or safety or danger far before your conscious brain even gets to make a decision about it. Now think about that, right? Your body is already deciding before your mind even shows up to the conversation. Your body's already decided what it's gonna do. So when you do something new, commit to someone, step into a bigger version of yourself. You make your New Year resolutions, right? Every year, a lot of you do it. Your nervous system scans that situation and runs it against every experience you've ever had. I'm going to repeat that again. It scans and it runs any new idea, anything you're trying to do against all prior experiences you've ever had. Okay? It goes against every failure, every rejection, right? Every hurt, every embarrassment. Every time you tried, you tried and you got disappointed. Every environment you grew up in. And if that new thing doesn't match what your nervous system has cataloged as safe and familiar, it pulls the emergency brake on you. And you come to a screeching halt. Not because you're weak, not because you're lazy, not because you don't want it bad enough, but because your nervous system evolved to prioritize at least your survival, not your success. And from a purely biological perspective of this, growth often looks like a threat to your nervous system. And remember, it puts the brakes on when there's any change that is not familiar with the current state that you're in, that it built up over a period of time to keep you protected. Let that sink in for a second. Growth looks like a threat to your nervous system. Why? Well, that promotion, that leap of faith, that new relationship after the last one broke you down so bad, that business risk, your body doesn't see opportunity, right? It sees danger. And it responds accordingly, right? With avoidance. That's what it typically responds with avoidance, right? Or with procrastination, or with self-destruction right before the finish line, right before you get there. You ever know that everything will be going just fine, and then right before you get there, something pops up, right? With picking certain things that's gonna scare you, like it'll even picking fights with things that are going too good, with blowing up situations that are actually working. It does this. Just think back on things and think about when you start getting nervous and you start going along with the thoughts in your head, like, nah, I probably shouldn't do this because this don't feel right, because that's your nervous system working in the background, making you feel. Remember, your feelings produced by the nervous system. It starts making you feel a certain way, right? It'll blow up situations that were actually working for you. That's not a character flaw. That's not a personal failure. That is your nervous system doing exactly what it was designed to do, keeping you safe based on what it has learned to avoid pain, to avoid risk, to avoid rejection. The problem is it's working from an outdated manual, though. A manual written by your 5-year-old self, your 10-year-old self, even. The version of you that grew up in chaos or scarcity or emotional unavailability, at least, or from trauma. And that manual, that old ass, outdated, no longer relevant manual, is still being used to make decisions in your life today. Right? I want to give you a few examples. Right? Some of this might make it click for you. You may have heard of the frog example, and it's actually powerful when you understand what's really happening biologically. A frog's visual system is hardwired to detect movement, specifically moving objects like frogs, bugs, prey, right? For it. That's it. That's the filter. So if you put a frog in a bowl surrounded by a bunch of dead frogs, so it's sitting on top of all these dead frogs, right? Dead stationary. I'm sorry. Dead flies. If you put a frog in a bowl on top of a bunch of dead flies, okay? These flies are dead, so they're not moving. The frog will literally starve to death. And it's surrounded by food. Why? Because its nervous system was programmed for a specific stimulus. And anything outside that program doesn't register. It doesn't exist. The frog isn't stupid. The frog is just running its programming. And I need you to sit with that for a minute and think about that, because that frog is a lot of us. We are surrounded by opportunity, surrounded by people who are trying to connect with us genuinely, surrounded by doors that are cracked wide open, right? And we literally cannot see them because our nervous system is only scanning for the pattern that it was programmed to recognize. And usually patterns of struggle, patterns of drama, patterns of chaos, because that's what felt like home growing up. So the healthy relationship feels boring. The stable financial opportunity feels suspicious. The calm period in your life feels like something's wrong, because your nervous system associates peace with the calm before something bad happened. Right? So think about this. This is why they say some people are addicted to drama, because for them, if everything's cool, calm, and collective, nervous system starts sounding a red alert. It sounds the alarm, and it sounds it heavily, right? Because it's thinking, wait a minute, this is too good. It's going too smooth. Something bad is coming. And it puts you on defense. It makes you stop leaning inward, and it makes you start pulling backwards. That's why it's easier when people start out with drama and keep the drama going. Because the nervous system, the nervous system is like, okay, I know what this is. This is familiar. I'm on guard already, because drama doesn't equate to the calm before the storm. It's already the storm. I'm already on guard. Nothing's going to catch us off guard and hurt us. So it can operate in dysfunction better than peace, because that's how the person has been programmed. Right? And many people end up manufacturing chaos because that's what calms their nervous system. The drama calms their nervous system. You pick the fight. You sabotage the calm, because chaos is familiar, and chaos, right? Or familiar feels safe, at least, put it that way. even when it's destroying you and hurting you in the end. And see, once you start understanding this, folks, once you start understanding how this works, you start being able to catch yourself and you start being able to see it in others. Right? Another example, research from the National Institute of Mental Health shows that self-defeating behaviors actually activate the brain's reward circuitry. It activates the brain's reward circuitry, right? Your self-sabotaging patterns are giving you a reward signal. And neurological research shows that the mere anticipation of engaging in self-sabotaging behaviors triggers a dopamine release. Think about that. The same neurochemical released by drugs, food, and sex. So your brain is literally getting high off your own dysfunction. That's some deep shit. You procrastinate, you get a dopamine hit. You blow up a relationship right when it was getting real, you get a dopamine hit. You quit on yourself at the edge of a breakthrough, you get a dopamine hit. Because these behaviors are familiar, and familiar patterns trigger your reward circuitry, regardless of whether the outcome is good for you and people don't see it. This is why willpower doesn't work. Willpower fails because the self-sabotage circuit fires faster than the conscious override. By the time your conscious mind is saying, don't do this or don't do that, your nervous system already sent the signal to your body, and your body already responded. And the behavior is already in motion to correlate with that signal. You're not making a bad decision. You're executing a pre-programmed response that your brain has run so many times, it's now automatic. And research published in 2026 estimates that approximately 25% of adults pursuing major life goals are actively caught up in self-defeating behavior patterns. 1 in 4 people, and that's just the ones actively chasing goals. The people who know what they want and still can't get out of their own way. And think about that, what that number looks like for people who gave up on their goals entirely, who stopped dreaming because every time they got close, something inside them set a fire to that bridge. So it's like, why you keep getting the same results? Why? And here's the part that's gonna, be a little unsettling. And I say this with love because I've lived it myself. When someone repeatedly avoids launching a dream, setting a boundary, or speaking up, your brain gets better at retreating. It learns the masterful art of retreating. It creates a feedback loop. Discomfort starts to arise and the nervous system activates, and then sabotage behavior follows, right? And the relief felt from avoiding the thing, how can I say, the relief felt by avoiding that thing confirms the pattern. The relief is the killer. The exhale you feel, when you back down from something scary or unknown, that relief is just merely your nervous system saying, good job. We survived. We got out of this one unscathed. We're good. And it logs that as a successful strategy. So the next time it runs the same play, it'll be even faster, more more with more speed and even more automatically, with less conscious resistance from you, because it starts to feel like the natural, normal thing. And this is why people find themselves in the same relationship dynamics, just with different faces. The same kind of emotionally unavailable partner, just with a different name. The same kind of financial pattern. Money comes in, money disappears. Different circumstances. Same career ceiling. Right on the verge of the next level, then something blows up. A different job, right? Why some people can't stay put. The brain's emotional memory circuit overrides logic and it stops growth, because the pattern isn't being driven by logic. It's being driven by a nervous system that has been conditioned to produce a specific outcome, and it keeps recycling the input to generate it. You're not recycling results because you're unlucky. You're not recycling results because the universe is against you. You're recycling results because you have a nervous system that has been calibrated by your history, your childhood, and past traumas, your past environments, all of that, to operate within a specific window. And anything outside that window gets treated as a threat, and it's neutralized immediately. And the prefrontal cortex, the smart part of your brain, right? The one that drives your goals and directs your behavior. But the limbic system, the primal, emotional, survival-oriented part of your brain that registers approaching success and these type of things, it registers it as a threat to the established identity pattern, right? Neuroimaging even has shown that these competing signals activate within a millisecond within the limbic threat response, often pushing forward and through the prefrontal lobe and executing control over it before your conscious awareness even occurs. Think about that. So here's the thing. In plain English, your smart brain wants to win. It wants you to have success and succeed. But your survival brain thinks winning is dangerous. And in that fight, the survival brain already has a head start. This is why you can know exactly what you need to do, have the knowledge and resources, have a plan, and you still won't do it. This is why therapy and all these types of programs to change your mind, it only works at the cognitive level. Just thinking about your patterns, right? That often isn't enough. You can't just think about it and try to, because it's deeply embedded in your nervous system. And because the pattern isn't living in your thoughts, it's living in your body, in your physiological response stimuli. You can't think your way out of a nervous system problem. Think about that. Your people are trying to think their way out of something that involves your nervous system, which is where reactive responses come from, right? So how do you actually rewire this whole thing, right? How do you get this shit undone? And this is the big part of why you're still listening. because knowing the problem without getting to the solution is just sophisticated suffering. So what actually works? And I mean, what the research says works, not these motivational poster bullshit. Breaking self-defeat requires 3 simultaneous interventions. Recognition, where you're identifying a specific pattern and its trigger. Tolerance building, where you're gradually exposing the nervous system to higher levels of success while maintaining safety signals and circuit replacement, right? And then building a new automated response that does not involve retreating. So basically, when you name the pattern, not the story, but the pattern, most people, when they reflect on their self-sabotage, they tell themselves a story. I blew up the relationship because they weren't right for me. I quit a business or a job because the market was bad or the job was bad. I didn't take the opportunity because the timing was off. That's the story. The pattern is underneath the story. The pattern sounds like this. Every time I get close to something real, I find a reason to leave first. Every time money starts building, I find a way to spend it or lose it. Every time I'm about to level up, I manufacture or create a crisis that resets me back to zero. You have to be ruthlessly honest enough to identify the pattern. That's the biggest part. Not the individual incident, the reoccurring shape of your self-destruction. You got to write this down. Look at the last 5 times your life reset on you, on your call. What was the common thing that did that? What was the trigger? What did you do right before everything fell apart? And a lot of us want to say, well, it was them. But if it's repeating, even with different people, the same thing or similar things is repeating, it's not the other person. Right? That's your pattern. That's the program running in the background. The second step, you got to locate it in your body. This is the part people skip, and it's the most important part because, again, this isn't living in your head. It lives in your body. The next time you feel yourself about to self-sabotage, right at that moment where your urge to run or quit or blow up or back down hits you, stop and do a body scan. What are you feeling? Is it in your chest, your stomach, your throat, your shoulders? That physical sensation is your nervous system activating the threat response. That's the signal. Don't act on it immediately. Just notice it, name it. So you can say something like, my nervous system is just flagging this is dangerous. Not that I don't want to do this or something's wrong. Just my body thinks this is a threat. Is it actually a threat or is it just unfamiliar? Because unfamiliar and dangerous feel identical to a nervous system, and especially if it's been calibrated that way over the years through past trauma or past bad situations or whatever. Your job is to start teaching your body the difference. And the third step is interrupt the loop physically. And there's been research in neuroplasticity that shows that self-sabotage, these patterns can be down regulated at least. But the interruption has to happen at a level where the pattern lives. And that's in the nervous system, in the body, not just the mind. This means when you feel that activation, You need to physically interrupt it before you act on it. Deep, slow breathing, for, an extended period of time if needed. Specifically extending that exhale. Drag that exhale out. Not just a quick exhale, drag it out. Right? And that directly activates another part in your nervous system. It activates the safe branch, and it literally sends a signal to your brain that says, this situation is survivable. Stop and immediately go put some cold water on your face. Right? Put that cold water on your face, a hand on your chest. These aren't just coping mechanisms, but they are basically direct interventions in your autonomic nervous system, right? To help with that threat response, because you're manually overriding the alarm system long enough for your conscious mind to get back in the driver's seat. In step 4, you got to take the smallest possible step into the scary thing, right? And this is the incremental exposure, and it's the most effective back method for recalibrating a nervous system that has been conditioned to avoid growth. You don't blow up your whole comfort zone all at once. That's not realistic. And when you do, that just re-traumatizes the system and confirms that the outside of your comfort zone is as dangerous as it thought it was. Instead, you want to take a tiny, non-threatening step in a direction your nervous system is afraid of. You ever heard of the thing where they say, face your fears, run head on into your fears? It's kind of where this part comes in, right? You stay in the uncomfortable, stay in that uncomfortable conversation or thought 10 seconds longer than you normally would before shutting it down. Entertain it a little bit longer, right? Don't quit the project on the day you feel that it may be a fraud or something like that, right? You just work on it 15, 20 minutes. You don't make the whole leap at once, but you take baby steps towards it. Each time you do those small things and survive it, physically survive it, meaning your nervous system processed the experience and you're still standing, you accumulate this thing research and stuff calls evidence of safety, which is important. You are literally building a new track record inside of your body, new data. And that new data says, I stepped outside my familiar zone and nothing catastrophic happened. I can do this again a little further next time. You have to be willing, though, and not afraid, right? And you have the capacity to understand and influence the intricate workings of your own brain by acknowledging the deep-seated neurological, psychological forces that drive and sabotage you, so you can begin to dismantle these patterns and cultivate a brain that supports rather than hinder your success in things. Fifth thing, you got to change your nervous system's reference group. Your nervous system co-regulates, right? Meaning it literally calibrates itself to it literally calibrates itself, at least to the nervous system of the people around you. This is something people don't think about too. This is why spending time around genuinely calm, grounded, successful people with a lot of confidence, right? It doesn't just inspire you intellectually, it physically down regulates your threat response over time. Your nervous system borrows their regulation, right? So if you're dealing with people who are constantly around drama and stuff like that and having bad things go on with them, your nervous system starts to borrow their regulation as well. Now you start seeing the same things in your life. And conversely, and this is the hard truth, spending time around dysregulated people, chaotic people, people who are running the same broken program or programs that you're running, trying to delete at least, that keeps your nervous system calibrated at their level. Not because they're bad people, but because your biology is mimicking their biology, whether you want it to or not. Your environment isn't just affecting your mindset, it's affecting your nervous system. And your nervous system is running and a lot of times ruining your life. And see this all the time. Think about people that grow up in these, gang ridden neighborhoods and communities. And you see interviews with them, right? I've seen this, these interviews with these gang members, and it'll be outside and they're constantly looking around. Everybody's looking around. They're programmed and they've been wired by the environment. Their nervous system has been wired to be on guard all the time. That's one situation. But when people are on guard, they have a lot of barriers. It's hard to build or connect with people who have deep-seated barriers. You won't get very far. It'll be always something that'll come up that'll disrupt or that'll make them pull back. You have women that's been dragged through the mud, hurt, following the same pattern, giving the same chances to the wrong type of guys over and over again. And their nervous system has gotten to the point where, remember I talked about the dopamine hit, it looks forward to the drama and chaos and then the ultimate breaking up and starting all over again with a new person. Because they're wired, they're programmed that way. And the same thing will keep happening over and over and over again. And let me close this out with something I need you to really take with you. You're not broken. You're not even weak. You're not cursed. You're not just built like that. That's not just how you are. You're a human being whose nervous system learned in real time, in real environments, from real experiences, that certain things were dangerous. And it built a system to protect you from those things. And that system worked, and it works well. It kept you alive. It kept you safe. It kept you from not getting hurt. It kept you functioning through the things that maybe should have broken you. But you're not in that environment anymore. The problem isn't the system itself. The problem is that the system never got the update notification. Like when you get a phone, you're on your phone and an app gets an update so it can operate better for this new time. Same thing with the body and the brain. A lot of people, they're running on the old version operating system that was written in your childhood, your formative years, or when you were dating and stuff wasn't going right and you didn't know much, you didn't have a lot of experience when you were young, jobs didn't flow right. And it's using old data and old code to navigate a completely different life. That's what happens. Right? And that's with anything. If the data that it has is old, it's not going to be able to make you the most effective and efficient person. Right? I say this: delete the old program, install a new one small step at a time, and watch. I guarantee it. Watch how your life changes. Watch how things just start going your way all of a sudden. Watch how things get better. Now, we're not talking about perfection, but you'll see a noticeable change in a positive direction. This is the Q experience, the Q equation. I hope you all receive something from this. And I hope it kind of leads you in the right way. I was there myself. So build something real and have true peace. Join me again next time. Have a good one.